bed of store, at least one of them for.
This is the
Oh, yeah.
it's sliced in half.
Yeah.
It's neat, I've never seen
So
it.
that,
Slice that
we
one.
release,
Oh, we're about to start in 2 minutes. Okay, I don't hear
in
anything.
summertime. Yeah. Like there's always somebody available, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, the last one we had is. We
airline
couldn't
pilot?
get them out,
Oh, yeah.
so we called the power company, and they said, well, if the meter isn't in your.
Welcome to the Ryder residence. How's everyone doing tonight? I'm Steve. This is Beth and
Jude, how's it going, everyone?
Chef Jude.
Welcome to the Ryder Team Let's Get Cooking event. And tonight we're gonna have prosciutto wrapped pork tenderloin, but it's got a few extras in it. What do we have in there?
We are gonna stuff our pork loin that we've wrapped in prosciutto with an apple fennel wild rice.
Ooh.
So we got a little bit to do. First and foremost, what do we want to do? We want to get our,
Mise en place.
that's right, we want our
Well,
mise en place. We want
but-
everything in its place.
We do, but first, did they start their rice?
Part of our mise en place today is we want to make sure that our rice is fully cooked. If it's not fully cooked, saucepan, rice, water to the top, turn it on high, boil it as fast as you can.
As
quick
in
possible.
right now, put your water, rice, boil, how many minutes?
Or 7 minutes probably.
7 minutes. You're only 7 minutes behind, guys.
And the recipe
And
calls
7's a lucky number.
for 2 cups of rice. 1 cup of rice will get us there today. We've got 2 cups here. It's going to be more than enough for stuffing that pork loin. So if you don't have your rice cooked, let's go ahead and get that going. Other than that, we want to make sure that our oven is on at 400. We want to make sure that we have
Come on in, guys.
we need a baking dish. Today, we're just going to be using our Calphalon roasting pan because we'll be able to do what we need to do in this guy. If you don't have something like this, like a Pyrex baking dish will work
Okay.
just fine.
Perfect.
And then we need a saucepan here for our cocktail. We're going to serve a warm cocktail today.
Ooh,
Yeah, a
interesting.
spiked hard cider. So we're gonna play with this a little bit and have some fun since it's getting nice and cold out. So introduce a different side of cocktail. So typically when you think cocktail, you do think that it is going to be chilled
Absolutely.
more times than
Something
not.
over ice,
Mhm.
yes.
And then we're gonna need a meat mallet. If you don't have a meat mallet, that's okay because we've created one right here. It's a small surface that's hard enough. We're gonna need to flatten out our pork loin a little bit if it is not.
Is that a meat mallet?
Yeah, this guy
Like a
is more like a
tenderizer.
tenderizer.
Okay.
And we're not gonna wanna really tenderize the meat. We're gonna want to hit it with a smooth surface because we're gonna want to just
You have a rolling pin?
pound it down. This guy will work as well.
Oh, good.
It's nice and
Check it out.
hard. So you want a smooth surface. If you're gonna use something like this that has the teeth on that guy,
Mhm.
then you wanna make sure this is gonna tenderize. We don't wanna break the tissue up too much. We just want to flatten out our pork loin so that way it'll be a little bit thinner so we can get a better roll on it. So it's a little
Gotcha.
tricky, but we've
So
got the right tools.
I like that you show me the different tools because then if you could use your pan, you
Yeah,
could use the rolling pin, and then this, could they even use the side of it?
not necessarily because there's
There's a
only a
hole.
flat
Yeah.
surface there. We need
Okay.
a solid flat surface so that we can hit. If you had a rubber mallet would work
Okay.
fine. You could put a piece of plastic over. We're gonna do that anyway, but something that's hard and solid so we can pound the meat out if you don't have a meat mallet. Which is
Perfect.
okay.
Good
So
to
that
know.
guy will go
Love
here.
that.
This will go here. So first things first, we want to make sure our rice is all the way cooked.
Perfect.
Make sure oven's on at 400. Then we're gonna want to take our cooked rice. We're gonna want to add our fennel bulb. You ever worked with this stuff before?
Never, so I'm really interested to see.
What's it smell like? Kind of like that licorice flavor?
Like, yeah, I guess.
Kind of like a
Kind of.
licorice flavor. This stuff pairs very, very well with salmon.
Oh,
It's gonna pair very, very well with our pork loin today and the mixture that we have. So it's real earthy and it has a certain sweetness. Once you start to
it
roast it,
does have a little more sweet.
it will get really sweet.
So
So
did you chop that in half?
I took it in half. Yep.
Okay.
So typically you're only gonna use the bulb of it. You're not gonna use the tops of it
Top.
like this. Yep. So then all you're gonna do is this guy, gonna take him off,
Kind of
Right.
putting like an onion.
just like,
possibly?
yeah, see how it's layered? just like
Exactly,
an
that's what I'm
onion?
thinking.
Very familiar family. It's probably comes from the same family actually of vegetables. So we want to wash this guy off first. So we want to remember that what are we doing today? We're stuffing a pork loin, right? So
Correct.
we want to make sure that we don't have big chunks of vegetables. It's going to be hard to roll our pork loin if we have chunks of vegetables.
And hard for
this
them to
big.
break down.
Correct.
Cooking inside of the meat.
Correct. So we want to make sure that we have a uniform size with everything that we're cutting, like our onions and our fennel and our apples that we're going to add to this.
Gotcha.
So we are going to take half of this and we're going to save this. We're going to need this piece to go into our pan later for roasting for aromatics.
Gotcha.
And then we're just going to small dice this guy.
Not too small, they're not too small.
Hmm.
Good size, okay. Kind of like a, what, like a medium chunk? medium?
Almost like the size of a pea,
Yep.
right?
okay,
So maybe slightly
bigger.
larger,
Yeah.
but that would be your reference, I guess.
Okay.
And then the onion, we're gonna do the same thing.
It looks so very similar.
Yeah,
Once
see
you
the
take everything
layers
off.
in it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's probably, like I said, it's probably from the same root vegetable family. Two totally different flavors.
Totally different.
Yeah. So this guy, set him aside. Gonna go in there.
Excellent.
And we're gonna get an apple. We're gonna use Granny Smith today. It's gonna have a nice
Ooh,
tartness.
I
to
love
it.
a Granny Smith.
It's gonna pair. You typically don't cook with these guys. These are typically baking only, but for our purposes, we want to add some tartness to our pork loin. So the savory and the tart and then the sweetness from this fennel really gonna come through with the earthy tones of the wild rice, because the wild rice is pretty earthy, pungent, so to speak, as opposed to like a white rice or a basmati rice. So what I'm gonna do with this, guys, since we want to take the skin off, I'm gonna take the top off and the bottom off, just like I would a pineapple, a honeydew, a cantaloupe, or watermelon. So I
Gotcha.
can take the skin off the easiest way possible. You could use a vegetable peeler, or you can just run your knife right down the side like this to just take that apple skin right off.
He makes that look so easy. That is not that easy to do, I can honestly say. But I like your technique.
So then we're gonna cut them in half because we need to take the core out. The easiest way to take the core out from there is cut it into quarters,
Oh, and then cut.
lay
each
it on
little
its
piece,
side,
yeah.
and then
Voila.
just like that. So every pineapple I would cut the same way because it's essentially breaking it down the same way. And the reason we want to take our apple skins off is because they are tough. So
Mhm.
as opposed to like a gala apple where they're going to be softer, they'll break up in the cooking process. These guys will stay very firm and we want to break them apart. From here, I just very carefully, you're going to want to slice it down. Depending on how thick it's going to be, you can do 2 or you can do 3 so that way you have slices.
So they're slices.
And
Got
then you're
it.
gonna chop them this way. This will determine how big do you want your dice. So after you slice it one way, turn it, chop it, and get a nice small dice, relatively same size as our fennel and
Perfect.
our onion. Then we're gonna want to take some freshly grown rosemary,
Love it.
straight from the pot, not even the garden. And some fresh sage. This stuff is good. Very strong. This stuff, you gotta be careful with it. We're just gonna give it a quick rinse. Just try to
Woo,
shake
you can smell it. I love that smell though. I
Right
love the
away.
herbs. Oh my gosh, love those.
that desert sage after
Yes.
it rains. So then we're gonna take these guys. If there's any huge stems from like the sage, you can break. The big ones we want to take out.
Okay,
The
because they don't
rose-
cook down very well.
No, the rosemary, we're gonna want to do the same thing too. This fresh like this and the stalk real thin, it wouldn't be so fibrous as like some wood as you get where it looks almost like a tree branch.
Right.
So this one would break down relatively nicely because you could see how not mature it is,
Mhm.
but we'll still just pull off because all we want is just the leaves for this.
Gotcha.
And we're gonna mince this. So we just take this and pinch it up into a nice tight little ball. Use our claw and we're gonna chop as close together as possible. So that way we can get a very, very fine mince. Once we get to that, just run your knife the other way. That's gonna go in
Perfect.
like that. We're gonna want to add just some minced garlic to this.
I have a question from somebody. There's granulated sugar listed in the recipe. Where in the recipe do we use that?
We're gonna use that in after we pull the pork loin out of the oven because we're gonna reduce our liquid to make a pan sauce.
Okay, so that would be when we're gonna use the granulated sugar is when we pull the pork loin out.
Yep, to make a pan sauce. And it's just like a nice pan gravy to go over the top of it to complement our pork. And the only reason we need that is in the event we need to sweeten up our jus because we're going to be adding sherry wine to it. So we want to make sure that it's going to take away any extra acidity. So
Okay,
we want to have that there.
so it's something that we may need but may not need.
And we'll get to that. We probably will, but
Okay.
it won't be,
Good to know.
it won't be a lot.
So we're using just 2 cups of cooked rice in that bowl?
That is correct.
Thank
2
you.
cups of cooked rice, yes.
So these guys. As thin as I possibly can at first. And I'll turn them the other way, do the same thing. That way you can break it down as fast as possible. So you're not just sitting there chopping and chopping and chopping. Because you want to get these guys as fine as you can.
Right, because that's garlic,
Yeah, and you're just not going to want to take a gigantic chunk of it
right?
dish when we go to eat our pork loin. Good mince there.
Perfect.
So then I just stir them around, incorporate these ingredients
So start working together
Yep.
flavor wise.
nice and well. And so it's nice and incorporated. So you're not getting like apple on one side and not enough on the other side. So that way, all the way through our pork loin, we can have a good consistency of flavors.
Right. No, it looks great, smells great.
All right. So now we're gonna want to break out our pork loin. Everyone wants to get out their pork loin.
Get it on out, bring it up. Let's see what we've got.
First, let's grab some plastic wrap. I'm not gonna use it just yet, but we'll have it ready to go because I'll have you layer it over when we go to pound out our meat a little bit.
Gotcha.
Mhm. So we're gonna take our pork loin. The first thing we're gonna wanna do is we are gonna want to, in our recipe, we wanna butterfly it. So you can start like this and you can work your way around, right? When we
Okay.
butterflied our other one, I can hold it and cut down, and I can show you. So I hold it. And
I have a question though, before we get too much further. All that fat. Is there a way you can take some of that off, or if people don't love the fat? I'm just
So,
asking.
we can take some of that fat off. We are gonna
Cause it
wanna,
looked like a lot of fat to me. I'm just
we're
saying.
gonna wanna leave some of that fat on.
For the flavor,
Mhm. So
but that looked like a lot.
that's all right, I'll show you. So we can take some off, right? But what we really wanna do, and I'll show you, so instead of butterflying our pork first, we want to score it. So like a duck breast, we just wanna make some slits in it,
Okay.
and we're gonna wanna score it. The reason we're scoring it is to help release that fat. So that way it cooks out right here,
Gotcha.
but we still get all that flavor, right? So we render the fat in the pan during the cooking process. This allows it to release faster. So it renders better. If you
All right.
want, you can take that off. No big deal. If you are gonna remove this, you are gonna want to remove then
If you do all of that,
your silver skin. Remember the silver skin right here. This is tough to chew,
right?
right? So if you're gonna go that far to taking it all off, take your silver skin off too.
Okay, good
Yep.
to know. Now, everyone here is laughing at me for saying that about the fat, but anyone at home that also agrees that you don't need the extra fat on there.
It's a very neat kind of meat.
It is, and it's funny. Anyway, sorry, but everybody was laughing at me for that.
Well, so here's the difference. The difference is the marbling of the fat within the meat, which Jennifer said is very lean. There's not a lot of marbling of fat within the meat. That's why it's dry more often than not.
Right.
Reason being is it's overcooked. That's okay. By leaving this on during the cooking process,
Mhm.
those juices naturally drip through the flesh itself, so that way it'll continue to help maintain the moisture.
And so scoring it helps to make that,
Release and
release that
render
as
the
well.
fat, yeah.
Okay.
So you do the same thing when you do duck breasts. You want to make sure you score that fat so it renders down and it releases itself, and then this essentially crisps up like bacon, because
Right.
bacon's a lot of fat, right?
Mhm.
So that's how that process will work.
Perfect. Okay, sorry to interrupt. We're moving on.
Okay, so now to butterfly, you can start like this and work your knife around and get going, if that's how comfortable you are. For me, I like to get started and I hold it, the pork loin, and then I just go pretty much
Are you
directly.
going 3/4 of the way in?
I'm only going like a quarter of the way in
A
right now,
quarter, okay,
because all we're doing is trying to make a consistent line, see?
okay.
So that way now, as we then butterfly it open, we can pretty much cut it straight in half all the way down, not all the way, but majority. So you're gonna leave some on the end there.
So I see it makes it much easier for you to cut once you,
Yeah,
going.
and it's so that way our pork loin now is held together right here. We're gonna want a little bit more here because we want that to,
flatten a little bit
yep.
more.
So as you see, as I start pressing it down and we work that meat out, that it's pretty same thickness all the way through, right?
Mhm.
That's what we're trying to achieve. So when you do start from here, it gets hard because you either come down and you start coming up.
Okay, so it's not gonna be as even.
That's why I like to hold it like this, so that way I can create that center, and then you're able to work it down without really butchering it up too much.
Got it.
Okay, so then for here, let's lay we lay a nice big piece of plastic over that. Let's do another one and like kind of shingle it.
What does that mean?
So
Oh, little one.
overlap it a little,
Like
yeah,
that?
like that, and then do another one that way.
That's a shingle.
We'll need both of those pieces. So from here, we're gonna now meat mallet, right? And this isn't whacking as hard as you can.
Although it's
It's-
just a frustration.
It's just a consistent, firm hit, because all we're doing is just pounding it down slightly. So over here, there's that bigger piece, so you're gonna wanna work that. But as you see, we're not doing a whole bit. And if you keep smacking, you're just gonna beat up that tissue, and we don't wanna do that. We just wanna flatten it out a little, so that way it'll be easier to roll and the cooking part of it. So that way it's pretty flat all the way across. Right there.
And good.
So this guy we can put away, unless you want to keep it out because the kids are active. Get rid of our plastic. Okay, from here we want to salt and pepper. So grab our salt and pepper. Just lightly. Salt and pepper. Salt and pepper that. Good. I'm just gonna pat that down into that meat there, real lightly. Okay, we're gonna want to get a piece of parchment paper. I got it right there on our cookie sheet.
And it looked like, we don't have parchment paper, but we do.
So that we can set this over. So we can put that guy
Right there,
down.
okay.
We're gonna want to get out our prosciutto. And we're gonna want to lay this out in a nice straight line with our prosciutto overlapping. Make sure that we leave this in the fridge as long as possible, because once it gets out and turns to room temperature, very, very hard to work with. It's sliced really, really thin.
Yep.
You gotta be really patient with it.
Because it's one of the few deli meats, when they cut it, that they have to put a piece of material in between each one so that it doesn't stick together.
What, yeah,
Very
because it's what, yeah, this wax paper essentially.
Yeah.
So we'll start.
So you're really kind of just peeling it off in the area that you really want it to stay in.
Yeah, because.
Because
like
it's
I s-
hard to deal with.
Yeah, the less you work with it, the better.
Gotcha. And it's one of my favorites. I love prosciutto.
Yeah, it's got this amazing
flavor.
saltiness to it.
Mhm.
and Wrap this in around asparagus and throw them on the grill real quick. Finish them in the oven. Little balsamic vinegar, Parmesan cheese, appetizer.
Yum.
Yeah, make that every night.
And then we have a little comedy action going on in the audience tonight.
So yeah, you gotta
Ellen suggested to wrap it around fresh figs.
figs.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That would be really good. I think figs are underutilized. So I do think,
I was just talking to my sous chef at work today about utilizing figs in our monthly holiday salad. So we're gonna be experimenting on that the next 2 weeks and see if we can put something together for our residents.
They're
'Cause
so
it-
good for
it's really
Oh.
good. They're good for you.
Absolutely. So like I said, you gotta be patient with this stuff because we're barely had it out and just working with it already. It's getting difficult. And we're just overlapping it about a third of the way over each slice.
The benefit of the parchment paper is things don't stick to it, right?
Yes,
It's used a lot in baking? Is that right, or?
the parchment.
Mhm.
Mhm. And it's not waxy, so it helps the process in which you release your food essentially. Some things it creates a mess. So if you're gonna use parchment to make a pizza, you're gonna have to spray it, make sure there's enough cornmeal on there, otherwise it'll just stick to your dough. If
You
you're
got
gonna-
paper on there.
Yep, if you're gonna do cookies, it works very well for cookies because the fat in the cookie allows it to not stick to the paper. So once it cools, pops right off
Pops
the
right off.
paper, nice.
That's why I thought they used it in baking a lot.
Mhm.
Maybe that's where I remember it.
We're just gonna want to use enough to get around our pork. I think one more will do what we need.
There we go.
Thank you. Especially like, since see this little slit right here,
Mhm.
the stuff is really tough to work with when that happens. Safe measures.
While Chef is just prepping, I wanted to say thank you to Anita Mosman for your 5-star review today. We appreciate that.
Oh, Anita, and wait a minute, didn't we just close today?
That's such a good feeling.
Yes.
All right.
You know, it's very hard to turn your mute off with prosciutto fingers. Did you hear me?
Oh, no, I
What
didn't
was
hear
that?
you.
I said it's really hard to turn your mute off with prosciutto fingers.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes, but yeah, we closed and it was awesome. And you guys, I can't thank you enough.
You know what? Are you in your new kitchen?
Yeah,
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
yeah. And
That's what's up.
I
You're
know-
gonna have to send us a picture so we can see what your new kitchen looks like.
I will.
Awesome. That's so great. I'm glad you're joining us. We love having you.
Thank you.
So we're gonna put them right in the center there.
Okay.
We're gonna wanna take it almost like a burrito.
I like to cut. You're kind of holding tight,
Yep,
squeezing
and
it
I-
a little bit.
Pressing down on it now. So you wanna try and keep that filling in there. Kind of trying to get that pork loin tucked underneath itself.
While preserving the prosciutto on top.
Well, the parchment's helping us.
Helping us,
Yep.
okay.
But you're gonna wanna try to get that rolled so that, see how I'm just pulling it back as we're rolling it? And then-
Tucking it under.
uh-huh. Working with this is tough. I said, as soon as you get it going, that prosciutto at room temperature is just not your friend. I just take the knife there and was able to
Set it
work
loose.
that
for free.
prosciutto out. Yep. And then put it back on. Try to keep it in place.
Somebody's wondering if it would help to boil the parchment.
You could.
Don't
It's,
want too much though, right?
we're not gonna want to add any oil to it though, because it's gonna help burn during the cooking process. Because
Ooh,
we
that would
just
be a good thing to
want the
know.
prosciutto to crisp up. So now. Slide it back here. All right, so that way we
So we're
got 'em.
really trying to get a roll finish your roll. Got it.
Just so we can tuck it. So then that way, once we try and truss it, it'll stay together pretty good. And that's the hard piece. This guy's kind of tucked together on its own over here. So let's start our truss on this side where it's open more,
Mhm.
so we can tighten it up. And then that way it'll help us keep our filling in there.
Oh, we got some
Butcher's twine.
twine, okay.
Make sure we get the knot out of here.
Is there a wrong twine to use since you happen to say butcher's twine?
You would want to use a butcher's twine. It's because of what the material is made out of.
So it's
not
not
your
gonna burn?
typical, not your typical kite string.
Well, see, that's good to
Nothing.
know though.
Nothing with nylon in it.
Okay,
So this would be pretty much 100%. I want to say like cotton rope essentially. So what we want to do is almost make like a lasso where the tie is almost tied but not tied. All right, so all we did was we just looped it and swooped it. And we're going to leave it loose because we want to keep that side out like this, so we can put this over our fork point very carefully, close to the side, and then that way we can tighten it down. We're going to want to slide it.
For those who don't know, Chef, what's the benefit of adding
Of the twine,
Yes.
so adding the butcher's twine to truss the meat up will help keep its shape and everything inside while we're cooking. You could stab it with toothpicks, but then you just kind of beat it up and it's hard to keep it actual. So I'll show you here as we work it. So what you do is you want to go, we're going to want to truss probably every 3 inches here. And what we'll do is you hold it.
there you go.
Trying to keep that other side together. So what you want to do is get it where you want in here.
Oh, and then you
And
just
then
tie
you loop it,
okay.
you don't tie, but you just loop
Loop
it
it.
through. So that way we can create then the next one and see how it then pulls that piece tight
I
here.
see it.
So
We're having a blast, but I need to go a little slower because we're behind.
it's okay.
It's a 2.5 inch.
And we didn't even serve the drink yet.
Oh, start the drink.
No, drink is next after we got to put this in first.
That's right. So we got that.
All right, looking good.
Like I said, you just work it carefully, slowly. Just leave that little piece once you wrap it around so that way you can pull it through. So we're gonna go pretty much right next to the edge.
I like the tricks of learning how to do that truss. That's pretty cool.
Then it's nice and tight. What we're gonna do is roll this guy over.
For prosciutto.
And then we just take them and go around on your layers. And I just skip and go every other one, because then we'll pull it even tighter. And that's what we're wanting to do.
Otherwise your stuffing's all falling out.
And we're gonna add another one right here just because. So we'll tie them up on top. So I just pull it through. Nice and tight. Loop it, swoop it. Cut off any access. Let's pull this guy all the way through. That way it'll stay nice and tight. Okay, got that there. Take some of our rosemary sprigs. Let's take 3 of them. Let's take a sage piece. Do a little rinse. I'm just gonna want to place these guys right underneath our truss here.
So would this be, I mean, that was like a great learning experience with the twine. Or would you add it to the turkey the same way, given that we have Thanksgiving coming up?
As far as just trussing back the legs, you could do that. So tying up the legs behind, just like you would a rotisserie chicken. You see how the legs are always bound up, so you could tie that up like that. But you could butterfly flank steak and
I love how you're tucking those in there. That's
just
really,
to add some more aromatics there.
absolutely.
And real quickly, we want to take our remaining fennel onions. We're gonna add some celery. We're just gonna rough chop, add a garlic in there too.
Awesome.
So this, guys, we're gonna wanna, not too big, not too small, and all this is for our aromatics in our pan. So we're gonna add this to our baking pan that we're using.
Right.
So that's gonna go there. Adding aromatics like this when you do your turkey, put it inside the bird, put it on the outside of the bird. And I always like to put some mirepoix inside the bird with some apples and oranges and really, I wouldn't say stuff that cavity, but put moisture inside the turkey
Right.
so that that way it'll cook out into the bird and continue to add moisture to that meat. Throw some apple in there.
Want to say thanks for joining to a couple peanut people. We have Christina Van Neel, we have Megan Pellis, Shannon, Dwayne, Randy Franklin, Valerie, April, Elizabeth, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining. We're excited to have you, and some of you are happy to have you back.
We do have quite a few people on for the first time tonight. I believe this is Janet and Mike Mako's first time.
Oh, thanks for joining. Love that.
Valeria and Jason Lowry are on.
Oh, the Lowrys from our photo shoot. I love that.
Yeah, Diana Jackson, first time. So yeah, lots of new faces tonight.
I love that.
Good.
Thank you guys for
Welcome,
trying it
everyone.
out. We love having you.
Get some garlics in there. These guys, we're not gonna need to be too worried about how big they are. And so we're just rough chopping them.
Mhm.
And it's just to add the aromatics. So we've got some on the inside of our pork loin,
Right.
but this is gonna help continue to add flavor, a nice robust flavor. We're gonna add some sherry
Oh,
cooking
anyway.
wine to this. We're gonna add some chicken stock. This is gonna be our pan sauce, our gravy.
Ooh.
We're gonna then,
So would this be something good, similar to do for our turkey in a,
yeah, absolutely.
so just, so something we could apply to that, something we're all gonna be cooking soon,
Same principle, different application, right?
right?
Yeah.
Would it be the same group of ingredients? Or
You
would we
could,
change
I
them a
would,
little bit?
I would replace fennel with carrot, but you would wanna keep the rosemary, the sage, you wanna add a little thyme to it. Like I said, we have apples, we have, add some citrus, so an orange to that. You
Okay.
could throw fresh cranberries into it.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Mhm. So all that's just gonna add to
So
the
that could
flavor.
really be your
of your
sauce for
turkey.
your turkey.
Yeah, instead of using the old country gravy
Gravy.
for it.
I love that
You
idea.
can do that, and it always turns out to be so much more. Like I said, I always like to take the fresh herbs and I break back the skin of the turkey. This guy is gonna go in the oven.
Should we turn the other one on?
Timer on, 40 minutes. Then we move along to our cocktail.
Oh, cocktail time.
Okay, so cocktail, we got some cider.
Okay,
We're gonna
perfect.
wanna get our saucepan going. We're gonna need 4 cups of this. 1 cup, 2 cups.
Sort of four. Got it. Another bottle.
There we go.
Throw it in.
Okay, so we're gonna keep them up high, so we're gonna wanna bring this to a boil. What
And
we're
that's
gonna-
apple cider.
That's apple cider, yeah.
Gotcha.
What we're gonna wanna do is, we're gonna get a cutting board.
Up top, yeah.
Just a little guy for our oranges
Okay.
and our ginger. So what we got here is we have some fresh cinnamon sticks,
Oh, love that.
boom, some star anise.
Okay, what is that? I don't really
This-
know what that is.
This has another licorice flavor to it too.
Oh, it does.
So this is
Okay.
in, here's a Japanese 5-spice right here. Right,
Oh,
right in the
wow.
palm of our hands.
Wow. Okay, very
1, 2,
cool.
3, 4, 5.
Fun fact.
Fun
All of
fact.
those together minus apple cider is a great oil to make your house smell great. It's like a perfect fresh potpourri.
Yeah,
Really?
the star
Yeah,
anise,
that's
the
exactly what it
ginger.
is.
And do you put it in water?
Yeah, it's just like a tea kettle or something.
Oh, that's a fun fact.
So we're gonna
Jennifer, thanks for sharing.
break up our oranges, because we're gonna want to break up that flesh inside so we can have some freshly squeezed orange juice. Take these guys. I don't think I've ever had a warm cocktail. Well, can't think. A hot toddy, so
Yeah, hot toddy.
probably the only thing I can think of.
But yeah, and it's not very often.
No, because you only have it when you're not feeling good. And
Right.
It doesn't taste very good, so you just choke
Exactly.
it down and keep going. So we're gonna take some fresh ginger root. We're gonna want to take a piece about this big.
Okay.
This guy, it's not too tricky like the apple. I just take off the skin as even as I possibly can without having to murder of the ginger itself. You can use a vegetable peeler. It's a little tougher just because of how it is. So
From the
it's,
size, yeah.
it's easier almost just to work the knife to take off the skin as much as possible. And you want to be careful the amount of this you use because this stuff is very pungent, but also it's very delicious.
Something we just really typically don't cook with.
No, not a lot of people do. It's like this star anise. It's one of those flavors that you either like it or you absolutely do not like it. And it's spicy. What you don't know is ginger's really spicy. Like when it hits the palate, it's, hey, that's hot. That's what kind of spice there is.
So that's more mostly an Asian food, right?
Yes,
You would
mostly
find
an
that?
Asian cuisine. It is your secret ingredient in apple and pumpkin pie spice that a lot of people don't really know about.
Mm.
Now, next cooking show, we're gonna learn about pumpkin pie spice by making some little apple bites, apple pie bites with some
Oh.
puff pastry or croissant dough. So that'll be nice.
So speaking of which, I think that date is November 26th.
Yeah, right
Is
before
there-
Super Bowl
or
Sunday.
January 26th, sorry.
January 26th.
Okay, and we're gonna do 3
Super Bowl apps.
appetizers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how fun is that?
Just something different too, something that's quick, it's easy to put together, but when your guests come over, it's not gonna be the same things that everybody else has. And they're gonna walk away and go, I need that recipe.
Right, you gotta bring something special.
That's
So
right.
you thought of two savory,
Two
one
savory and
sweet.
one sweet.
And what are those so that we can kind of
So
prepare?
we're gonna do a spicy crab dip, and you could serve that with like baguette or crackers. We're gonna do the apple pecan bites And then we're gonna do, why am I drawing a blank? We just wrote it down.
Let me check my list.
Little bitty wieners.
Oh, yeah, it's the candy bacon little
Candy,
smokies.
bacon.
So we're gonna
little
make some candy bacon with a maple bourbon glaze
Okay.
for our little smokies.
And then you were
So-
telling me, which I was really excited about, because I like to do a lot of brunches. You could also substitute the little smokies for.
A maple link, so a maple breakfast link, you wrap it in bacon, you put some maple bourbon, roast it, brown sugar on that bacon, so it candies up and caramelizes nicely. Turns out to be a fantastic side dish for brunch.
Love that. I still want to do a brunch. We're gonna kind of do a kid event, kind of brunch maybe.
Yeah,
one of
that's
our
what
cooking
we're
events.
looking to do. We want to help introduce kids into the program, and how do we take something that kids really, really enjoy doing and then turn the tables for the adults, because not all your kids are gonna want the fancy dancy
Exactly.
things that the adults have, so. we'll-
That's coming soon in next year.
Yeah, we'll get that going too. so.
Perfect. I'm excited to put that all together. So,
So this guy here, it's coming up to a boil. All we're gonna do is we're gonna wanna bring it up and then we're just gonna reduce it down,
okay.
okay? What about, how's the market doing?
All right, let's get, oh, Steve is gonna come on over. We have a few things to talk about. I think really more than anything, sellers are, first of all, if you are a buyer in the market, the sellers are willing to buy down your points, pay some closing cost assistance, and the prices have dropped. So as a buyer in the market, it's a great time to buy, even though everybody has a lot of stress over the interest rate. Why should we not worry about just that? Do
I'm
we
not
have a great
stressed.
example?
I'm not stressed at all.
Because the interest rate is higher, but the prices are lower.
So we actually have something coming out in our newsletter that gives you an analysis. If you would have paid, let's just go 6 months ago, one house, what, 30, 40 bids, $100,000 over full
At
price
least,
at 3.5.
Yeah.
And then we'll show you today at 7, which rates have dropped, get a $50,000 discount
yeah.
and the payment would be the same. Oh, I love the way our videographer is paying attention to our cooking.
Cooking.
Turn them, yeah, turn them, you're good.
Yeah, we're good. So it's all relative, guys. And so here's the good news. Rates have dropped and we're now down to 6.5. So a 6.5, when you have someone buying down the rate, you can buy it down to a 3.5% fixed for 7 years. That's one option. You're probably not going to be in that house for 7 years. And at any time, you can refinance.
Absolutely. There's no prepayment usually.
Or a
Yeah.
3-2-1 buy down, which means we're going to buy it down from 6.5 to 3.5 the first year. And then 4.5 the second year and 5.5 the third year. But the nice thing about that, when the seller actually does that for you, a seller being a builder,
Yes, because they're willing to do things right now
Yeah.
that they haven't been willing to
yeah, or a motivated seller, that money's actually escrowed to buy the rate down. So let's say next year when things get a little easier, the inflation starts to settle, you could do a free refinance, which a lot of lenders are offering, and you have a rebate of about $10,000 to either reduce your principal or use it to another buy down. So it's a win-win, guys. It's a really good time. Lots of choices. And here's what we're seeing a lot of people do. Keep your home as a great investment. Today, mortgage companies will take the income from a rental and that will pay the payment and it won't count against you. So you go ahead and use that great interest rate that you have, take a small second loan. The blend rate of a second at 4 and a first at 2.25 is a great blend rate. And then you buy the new home with a second mortgage and you have 2 homes.
It's a great to invest in real estate.
And you always have 30 days that you don't have to pay a payment. But if you pay that payment the very first month, you're actually going to take that loan from 30 years to 24 years. So we have what we call mortgage hacks,
Yes.
right? so we can teach you how to use this information to build wealth. And here's a commercial. I can't help it, guys. I did a coloring book, and this is for kids probably anywhere from 4 to 8 years old. And so it's Happiness is Love. And then my first book is called Change. So you can go to Amazon and find either Change. If you're looking to change any habits that you, like maybe you eat a little too much for Thanksgiving
Possibly.
or through the holidays and you want to make a change, easy read, 12 pages. And my new one is a coloring book. And for the parents that are looking to have their kids practice their penmanship and be inspired, the Writer Elite team is always about giving and helping and learning. We love that you guys are with us tonight. Don't we, Beth?
Absolutely, we love it.
And Chef Jude is absolutely amazing. And what you're going to see now is a transformation of that pork loin from just starting to voila, just like you see on national TV.
Absolutely.
Chef, you're amazing.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Now that we're back at it,
Now that we're back at it, how's our drink coming along?
it's doing good. We're infusing these flavors very quickly. As we saw, it almost overboiled, but we did not. So all we're doing is trying to reduce this down for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And all it is going to help infuse those flavors all into one. So you're able to taste the clove and the cinnamon, the ginger, the orange, and the star anise with a little bit of bourbon to back that. Nice little maple syrup.
Gotcha.
Got yourself a nice little cocktail.
All right.
So that guy's going. We got our pork loin in. I think it's ready to come out.
Ours might be a little quicker because we started one earlier just because this was such a long cook.
So when we pull our loin out, as you see, we got a nice firmness to it. Still bounces back a little. We're good to go there. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pull our loin out of the pan.
And how do you know it's done? I guess for me, I always wonder, especially when you stuff it, how do you know it's done underneath? So give us some good tips.
Okay, so tongs, please. So underneath, we know it will cook. It's not the underneath we're worried about.
I mean, the
Beth.
middle.
It's the inside.
That's what I
It's
meant.
the
Excuse me,
middle
the middle.
that we're there. So if you have the thermometer, you can probe it in there and
Okay.
do so. Remember, we butterflied the meat. We pounded it down a little bit. So we shrunk that pork loin. A pork loin like this would typically take about 45 minutes to an hour to cook in your oven at the rate that we cooked it at.
Okay.
It might even take 35 minutes. It all just depends on how your oven is. We know that with that said, 40 minutes after we've stuffed, it's going to be enough time for it. You could notice when you go to press that and it's nice and firm all the way through, when we go to squeeze it all, that's what we're looking for, how we can tell. And you can see our prosciutto is crisped up nicely. This one's gotten beat up because you got to be careful working with that stuff, right? As you see, it's delicate. It's very, very tough. So it's hard. One of the things you could have done is you could have rendered this down really quickly in the oven and then cracked it up and put it inside in the stuffing. But we really wanted to capture the crispness on the outside.
Right, you could see like that crisped up a little, which is good.
Yeah, so the other one, we got a much better roll and a better trust. Like I said, we were more careful. We were more gentle with it, which allowed us to get what we wanted to get. So we want to pop this guy out. And we're going to want to let him rest.
Cover him this way or leave him
Just
up?
let him sit like that.
Okay.
See this fat cap here? We're going to want to pop that guy out.
Oh, yeah.
Who's my spoon?
Okay, everybody in this group is laughing at my comment, but yes, we don't want that in there.
No, because we don't want that into our sauce, right? So
Exactly.
what we're going to want to do is we can remove that.
We're laughing, but we agree with you.
Okay, good.
See how it congeals and you're able just to pop that right out. Yeah, we're going to lose a little bit of the celery and stuff, but it's not going to be so big to make a difference. Because we don't need that. That's all.
Right, and you don't need the celery, yep.
It's not the good love right there. All the good love is still in here. Right? So then we're gonna want to turn this on high.
Yeah,
It's just so we can reduce
bring
it,
it up. Okay.
reduce it down. As we reduce it down is what's really gonna help fortify that flavor. It's gonna help us get the pan sauce that we're looking to make.
While we reduce it down, is that gonna get thinner,
It'll
thicker?
thicker
Okay.
because we're reducing it. We're evaporating
Where
the
can
water
it-
and concentrating the sugars, which
Gotcha.
would allows it to become.
We're adding any thickness?
Do we have a question out there? How are you guys, how is your dinner coming? Anybody have any questions for Chef?
We're gonna take our mint shallot that we got, we're gonna add it to this.
Awesome. Salad.
I believe we got cranberry in here, right? Cherry wine.
Wasn't there
The
something? in
dried
there?
cranberries.
Yeah. there's there.
So we're gonna add some dried cranberries, some of that sweetness that we were talking about, right?
Again, great for Thanksgiving.
Flavor profile, what we're doing is we're just profiling flavors. When we're cooking the pork
We
loin,
did.
once we put our pork loin in, we want to put chicken broth into that to create that jus that we have here now. It adds moisture to the cooking process, so that way it helps keep the pork loin moist as it's roasting in the oven. It's a technique called braising. So what we did was we braised our pork loin in our chicken stock and our aromatics, our vegetables, and our apples.
So they could pour it in now if they didn't.
If you did not, yep, if you did not remove any excess fat that you do not want in there, add your chicken stock now. So then that's going to be then become our sauce or our jus for the pork loin. So we have our cocktail mixture here. Let's dive in there.
You do like a
Yeah. So let's
Waiting for our cocktail.
well,
Be
this is just
careful.
it. That's good. No, there's no alcohol in there.
Nope, it is
This is
just the
just
apple
The
cider,
apple cider.
the ginger, the cinnamon, the clove,
It had a lot of
and the
flavor.
star anise, the orange juice and the oranges.
Yes, I really
Mhm.
taste that a lot. So like anyone that doesn't want alcohol in it could drink it like this.
Absolutely, it's just.
It's really good.
Cider.
Cider.
Hot apple
So
cider.
I like that. So you can have non-alcoholic
Mhm.
or you can put alcohol in it. And what are the alcohol that we're actually putting in it today?
We're gonna put some bourbon in it. So we're gonna need a glass that we can put some hot liquid in.
Why don't we use the regular team? There you go.
You can do that.
Let's do that.
So we'll just do this then. Make it a little easier. We're gonna wet something. You can use your orange peel if you had it, but we want to see if this is gonna stick. I got some brown sugar here.
Oh, so
That
we
we're
might need a
gonna
different
rim.
glassware. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see if it'll stick.
Not really.
That's
Okay,
all right.
let's try something. You want to try something else?
Yeah, just a regular glass should be
Mug?
fine.
Oh, regular glass?
Yeah, we can use that.
Sure. I think these should be good, actually. They're really good.
So
And it's
just,
clear and easier to see.
yeah, just wetting the rim so that way
You can have a little brown sugar on it.
the sugar will stick to it. Trying not to get too much. And then you turn our mixture there, it's off, so it's
Yeah.
kind of cooling a little bit. You let that do its thing. check our pan sauce here, see how it's thickening up
I
already.
do, that looks really good. I love the idea of really using the same concept for Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
instead of doing the gravy.
Yeah,
having that
absolutely.
sauce.
So we have some Woodsford Reserve,
Okay, nice.
some bourbon here. We're gonna do 1 ounce. Or got some fresh maple syrup. This is all. There we go. Get our spoon.
Oh, sorry.
Just gonna kind of stir that maple up first with the bourbon. Let's use our ladle. Take our apple here.
I love how we dress it up.
Do a nice fresh apple slice. You could take some brown sugar and cinnamon on these and bake them in the oven real quick and make like a chip. You
That
can,
sounds yummy.
you could
Look
add a
at
little bit
that.
of smoke to it,
love
liquid
that.
smoke or a wood chip. You could smoke that apple and put it on the side of there like that. So it's almost like an old fashioned, just completely different.
Yeah, completely different. Old fashioned slash. So, in order to do your apple chip idea, which I like because we're still cooking,
Okay, we
tell
have
us
the
how to do
oven.
it. You've got your
So we
back.
have the oven on.
Show us what you do.
You take. Where's our baking sheet?
Let's try a couple. Waste not.
Throw a paper on there.
Impromptu education.
So like with these guys, I would. Cook this for-
Yeah, there you
Just real light.
go. Okay, gotcha.
And then just lay these guys on there.
Especially if you have kids at home. I mean, this would be a great little snack.
Yeah, absolutely. And big brown sugar. And just pop these guys in the oven.
I love that.
Let those ride for about, I'd say start at 8 minutes, as thin as we cut them. This guy's nice and reduced down,
Oh, yeah. that looks
almost like a
amazing.
chutney, right?
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it looks really
it's
good.
got a nice topping for it. It's not just gonna be like your traditional gravy. Quick wash of our board so we can cut our pork.
Can we get rid of these?
Um,
Are we done? All right, I'm gonna try a sip of this, see what we think. Oh my, That has a lot of liquor in it.
It just seems that way.
I just normally don't drink, what is that, bourbon?
Bourbon.
Okay, that's just not something I drink. but
So
no,
it is
just takes
strong, so.
No, we don't need a lot more sugar in there. This might be for someone else to try after me, because that's, yeah, I can see, but if you want it, you would have put like more syrup in it
Yeah.
to cut the alcohol flavor.
Yeah, and all we did was we put 1 ounce in there, so.
Oh, I know, it's just it has a strong flavor.
Yeah, because the apple cider isn't gonna mask that, right?
Not at all,
Mm.
but it is, I mean, it was interesting with one sip.
So with your truss here, should be able to, we had to retie this one too, so.
Chef, we do have someone who said they made your white fish and mango salsa, and it was fabulous.
The whitefish, the halibut day?
Yeah, they said they served it with cilantro lime rice, but they do want to do cauliflower rice.
Yeah, the
next
cauliflower rice is something that I've just been trying to make anything out of it. Mashed potatoes, rice.
year. It's really good.
Yeah,
Really
it
good.
turns out well.
A little bit of a learning with the mashed potato.
Yeah, you gotta really cook the cauliflower for it to work. Then you gotta add enough flavor to it. So our trusses here.
But you really see how that connects together and
How
has
it
holds
helps.
it together.
Yeah, how it helps hold it nice and firm.
Wouldn't this be a great alternative to a turkey if you're just doing like a smaller dinner?
Yeah, instead of having to cook a big old bird, and I mean, cook time is how many hours less, right?
I feel like
Well-
you could serve all the same traditional Thanksgiving sides with it.
You could do it all exactly the same.
Now, could you replace the rice with stuffing?
Yeah, when I would traditionally do like mine, I like to use kind of the same thing, an apple sage stuffing, and wrap it up. You can do the prosciutto on the outside too if you wanted to. But yeah, this with the stuffing on it. Saucy on it. Really get that jus.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Wow, that looks amazing.
And then we can take our fresh rosemary from the garden. Let it dry, light it on fire.
Mhm.
Just trying to keep it nice and simple.
Oh, that
Tuck it
looks
out of the
amazing.
way. Just like that. And as you saw, as we could tell when you press that pork loin,
Right, it
you
looks,
could see the firmness of it, but
Mhm.
we kept a lot of moisture, if you see, because of the liquid. See how the moisture
Oh,
is still
yeah.
in that.
I think for pork, it's always a kind of a balance, making sure that you really keep that moisture in there, because it can be a little dry. I agree.
Yeah, and always start with less. Put the timer less than more, right? Because so for me, starting at 40 minutes, I'm leery about that just
Mhm.
because of the thickness that this is. I know with the stuffing, it's harder to heat here
Right.
than it is. So cooking at 400, it's gonna cook fast. You know, you could cook it at a slower not slower, but a lower temperature, and it would took longer, but then you're not gonna get the crispness of the prosciutto, and that's what we're trying to capture here.
Right.
Was having that crisp prosciutto on the outside of our corn. It adds texture and flavor profile. So,
Absolutely. Well, once again, spectacular dinner, and I hope all of you enjoy it at home. Beth Ryder signing off, Chef Jude, and thank you guys for joining. We look forward to seeing you again. Unfortunately, not for Christmas, but we want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you back in January.
see you later, everyone.
Bye.